Good morning, everyone. The topic of today's seminar is case history. These are the contents of the seminar. What is a case history? We can define case history as a planned professional conversation between patient and clinician that enables the patient to express his or her symptoms, feelings, or fears. Case history can be classified into three types: structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. In a structured case history, the patient answers in yes or no. The case history is very rigid and provision for open-ended questions is nil. In an unstructured case history, irrelevant questions are asked to gain relevant information. Example, questioning about the diabetic status of the patient when his chief complaint is mobile teeth. In a semi-structured case history, it has a definite skeletal work with the same questions. That is, the same questions are asked from different number of patients. Then we come to the demographic data. In the demographic data, the name is asked. Name is asked to maintain a proper rapport with the patient. Age is asked. Age is asked to know about a certain age-related disorders, like at birth we have cleft lip and cleft palate. From first to second of decades of life, we can see primary hepatic gingivostomatitis. 6 months to 6 years, we see nursing bottle caries, cherubism. In middle-aged people, we see ameloblastoma, oral cancer. In old-age people, we see cancer or degenerative osteoarthritis of TMJ. Age also helps in calculating the suitable dose of a certain medicine. We can also have the treatment plan according to the age. Like in a 16-year-old with a mutilated tooth, he may be a candidate for RCT, whereas in a 60-year-old, the patient might go for extraction. Periodontitis, if we see in children, it may indicate juvenile diabetes, whereas in a 60-year-old, it is considered normal. Sex, we want to know because if there is loss of teeth, it may be an aesthetic problem for females, whereas for males, it may be a masticatory problem. Gingival growth can be seen both in males and females. In females, it may indicate pregnancy tumor, whereas in males, it may indicate metastatic jaw malignancies. Then we have occupation. In occupation, we see a certain occupation-related disorders. Like in tailors and beauticians, we may see notching of the incisors, of the incisal edges of upper teeth. In people who work in acidic environment, we may see erosion of teeth. In musicians, we see soft tissue trauma, herpes, dry mouth, TMJ pain. In people who work in paint industry, we commonly see mercury poisoning and lead poisoning. We want to know the marital status of a patient because a married female may be in early months of pregnancy, and it gives us the personal, social, economic and psychological status of the patient. Address is for correspondence. It is for the geographical prevalence of dental or oral diseases, and it gives an idea of the socioeconomic status of the patient. Chief complaint. Chief complaint is mainly in the patient's own words, and it is established by asking the patient to describe the problem for which he or she is seeking help or treatment. The chief complaint, it helps in diagnosis and treatment planning, and it is always given the first priority. Then we see HOPI. In HOPI, we see the nature of the complaint. That is, if the patient's chief complaint is of swelling, trauma, pain. We see the location where it is present. We see the duration for how much time it has been present. For example, if the HOPI is of pain, then if the pain is of long duration, it may indicate chronic pulpitis or chronic periapical lesions, and if it is of short duration, it may indicate acute pulpitis. Then we see the aggravating and relieving factors. That is, if pain increases while chewing, it is commonly seen in pulpal and periapical lesions. If there is reduction in pain while biting, it is an indication of periodontitis. If there is pain in opening and closing of the mouth, we see it as temporomandibular disorders. And progression. If the pain increases on taking hot or cold beverages, if it increases at night or during the day, then we see the HOPI. HOPI, it is a record of narrative account of the patient's problem from the onset to present timing, listing all the symptoms, signs, treatment undergone in a chronological order. First, there's open-ended questions to hear. Second, there are more specific questions. And finally, we ask yes or no questions, and we collect data from those questions. Then, if the patient's HOPI is of pain, then we follow a rule, that is Socrates. S is for sight. Sight can be localized, diffused, referred, or radiating. O is onset. Onset can be spontaneous, on stimulation, intermittent. Character can be dull, sharp, throbbing, or constant. R can be radiation, that is, it is radiating towards the head or neck region, or non-radiating. A, if it is associated with other symptoms like there's pus discharge, then timing or duration, then exacerbating and relieving factors like cold, heat, palpation, percussion can be relieved by cold, heat, or any medication or sleep. And severity, the severity of the pain, we see that on the visual analog scale of 1 to 10. If there is a history of swelling, we will see the location of the swelling, from how much time it has been present, that is duration, when it started, how it, if it has been increasing, how it, if it aggravates or relieves, and the factors that lead to it. Then we will inspect it, we will see the situation of the swelling, we will see the color, shape, size, we will see the edges, we will see the number of swellings, we will see if there is movement or nucleation and protrusion of the tongue, we will see palpation, if there is temperature, if there is tenderness on the swelling, the size of the swelling, we will see the surface of the swelling, edges, consistency, fluctuation and compressibility of the swelling. If there is a history of trauma, we will see the location of the swelling, location of the trauma, we will see the origin and onset, how the trauma occurred, we will see the consciousness, that is, if the patient was conscious or unconscious after the trauma. Then we will ask if there are precipitating or aggravating or relieving factors. We will ask if there was vomiting after the trauma. We will ask if there was bleeding from the ears, nose, mouth. If the history is of an ulcer, we will see the location of the ulcer, we will see the origin and onset, we will see the duration, we will ask if the ulcer has been reoccurring, we will see the progression, we will see the aggravating and relieving factors. Past dental history, we ask the past dental history to know how the patient responded to the dental treatment, like if there has been an extraction, then we will ask if the extraction was uneventful or eventful. Family history is asked so that we get to know about the hereditary diseases like diabetes, hypertension. Medical history, in medical history we see the symptoms, we see the allergy, medications, duration of the medication, we see the previous history, we see the last episode. For example, in last episodes we see if the patient is an epileptic, we ask the patient when his last episode was. Personal history, we see the habit of the patient. In habit, we ask the frequency of the habit and from how much time he has been having the habit. In general examination, we see build, height, gait and posture. And in build, we see asthenic, that is lean and underweight, then sthenic, that is athletic posture. And in gaits, we see hemiplegic gait, that is because of hemiplegia. We see ataxic gait, that is seen in cerebral lesions, alcohol intoxication. We see pursive gait, which is seen in Parkinson's disease, carbon monoxide poisoning, manganese poisoning. We see scissors or spastic gait, which is seen in cerebral palsy or multiple sclerosis. We see waddling gait, which is seen in muscular dystrophy. Then we see pallor icterus, clubbing, cyanosis, and edema. Pallor, it is seen in the lower palpebral conjunctiva. We can see it in the nail bed, skin, and mucosa. Icterus, it is yellow sclera. It is seen only in hepatitis, cirrhosis. In cyanosis, it is bluish or purplish tinge to the skin and mucous membrane. Clubbing, it is known as thickening of the soft tissue beneath the proximal nail bed. It results in the sponginess of the plate and thickening of that area. In clubbing, we see Scarmott sign, that is obliteration of the diamond shape space at the proximal end of the nail. Edema is a Greek word which means swelling. Edema can be pitting or non-pitting. In pitting, we press a finger over the swollen area for 5 seconds and remove it. If the indentation is left and that fills slowly, it is seen in legs or arms, and it is seen in patients who have diseases related to heart, liver, kidneys. And the main reason of pitting edema is due to retention of sodium. In non-pitting edema, we press a finger over the swollen area for 5 seconds and then we remove it. If the indentation is not left, this is seen in disorders of lymphatic system such as lymphedema. Then vital signs like blood pressure, temperature, and respiratory rate are monitored. In cases of cysts and tumors, mouth opening, we see the normal mouth opening is 35 centimeters. So the conditions in which we see reduced mouth opening is OSMF, pericoronitis, fracture of the condyle or coronoid process, tetanus. TMJ, in TMJ we see if there is clicking or deviation while we ask the patient to open and close the mouth, and then we see if there is clicking or deviation. Then we see if there is deflection or deviation while opening. If we see if there is pain or tenderness over the joint. Then in lymph nodes, we see the preauricular lymph nodes, postauricular, occipital lymph nodes, submental, submandibular, cervical lymph nodes. And the main causes of lymph node enlargement are inflammatory neoplasm, and it can be hematological or it can be immunological. In intraoral examination, we see the hard tissue examination, that is the number of teeth that are present, the number of teeth that are missing if there are carious teeth, the mobility of the teeth, and the occlusion if it's class 1, class 2 or class 3. Soft tissue, we see the tongue, floor of mouth, palate, lips and cheek, salivary glands and gingiva. In tongue, we check for the volume of the tongue. If the tongue is enlarged due to lymphangioma, hemangioma or neurofibroma. We see the integrity of the papilla. We see if there are cracks or fissures present. We see if there are swellings or ulcers present on the tongue, and we see if the mobility of the tongue is there. In floor of the mouth, we see it should be checked for swellings. In swellings, we can see ranula. Ranula, it appears as a unilateral bluish translucent cyst over which water in the ducts can be seen. We also see sublingual dermoid cyst. We see in ankyloglossia, that is fusion between tongue and floor of the mouth, and we can see carcinomas also in floor of the mouth. Then in palate, we can see cleft palate, smoker's palate, palate scars or swellings. In lips, we can see ulcers or pigmentations. In cheeks, we can see ulcers, red and white lesions and pigmentations. Salivary glands, there is parotid swelling. There can be skin over the swelling over the gland or duct. In submandibular, we can see obstruction of the submandibular duct. In gingiva, we check for bleeding gums, gingivitis, periodontitis. Then we do the inspection, that is, we see the site. And while doing the inspection, we can see nasopalatine cyst. It is seen in the maxillary anterior region. Dermoid swellings seen in the midline of the body. We see median rhomboid median mandibular cyst, which is midline of mandible. It is seen in the midline of mandible. The color can be black, which is seen in benign nevus or melanoma. It can be reddish, seen in hemangioma, and we can see blue in ranula. The shape can be ovoid, pear or kidney shaped, or irregular. The size can be, we see the size by horizontal and vertical dimensions. The surface can be smooth, ulcerated, or it can be a cauliflower surface or a corrugated surface. The base can be sessile or pedunculated. The skin over the swelling may be red and edematous. It indicates there is inflammation. Tense and glossy, it indicates there is sarcoma with rapid growth. It can be black punctum on skin. It indicates that it's a sebaceous cyst. The number can be multiple. You can see that in neurofibromatosis. And solitary, that is 1. You can see it in lymphoma or dermoid cyst. On pulsation, we see it in aneurysms, carotid body tumor. If there is movement on protrusion of tongue, we see that on thyroglossal cyst. If there is movement on deglutition, then swellings fixed to the larynx and trachea, there are thyroid swellings and thyroglossal cysts. Palpation, we see the temperature, it may be increased, that may indicate inflammation, superficial aneurysm, large recent hematoma. If there is tenderness, then it is seen in inflammatory swellings, tenders, neoplastic swelling, non-tender. The size, shape, and extent surface is seen. It may be smooth, lobular, nodular, irregular, and rough. The margins may be smooth or ill-defined. The consistency may be soft, cheesy, rubbery, firm, or bony hard. We check fluctuation by Paget's test and fluid thrill test. Translucency can be seen in swellings containing water, serum, lymph, or plasma. It will transmit the light. Reducibility, it is seen in hernia, meningocele. In hemangioma, there will be compressibility of the swelling. Transmitted pulsation or expansible pulsation, we can see that in movable swellings or fixed swellings. Percussion, it is done to find the gas content. In cases of hernia, we will see a resonant note over the hernia. Auscultation, all pulsatile swellings show positive auscultation. Then provisional diagnosis, it is also called as a tentative diagnosis or working diagnosis. It is formed after evaluating the case history and performing the physical examination. Then after provisional diagnosis, when we go for histopathological investigation, then we can give the differential diagnosis. And differential diagnosis is the process of listing out 2 or more diseases having similar signs and symptoms, of which only one could be attributed to the patient suffering. Investigations, we go for hematological, histopathological, and radiological investigations. In hematological investigations, we see the RBC count, hematocrit, HP level, WBC level, differential leukocyte count, bleeding time, clotting time, and RBCs. In radiological investigations, we see intraoral, that is IOPA, bite wing and occlusal. Extraoral, we do OPGs, lateral ceph, PA view of the skull, submetavertex view. Then histopathological investigations, we do biopsies. Biopsy is a Greek word in which bio means life and opsy means look. So in incisional biopsy or core biopsy, a part of the lesion, we remove it. In excision biopsy, an entire lump of the lesion is removed. In FNAC, a sample of the tissue or fluid is removed with needle. In exfoliative biopsy, we remove the superficial tissues by scraping. In brush biopsy, there is removal of tissues by a specific brush. In frozen section or cryosection, we use it to perform rapid macroscopic analysis of specimen. It is mostly used in oncology. Then we have the final diagnosis. Final diagnosis can usually be achieved by following the chronologic organization and critical evaluation of the information obtained from the patient history, examination, and radiological and laboratory examination. The diagnosis usually identifies the diagnosis for the patient primary complaint first, with the subsequent